I'm going to introduce our team. We have Rita first.
Hi, yeah, I'm Rita Callender. I cover the northeast of Scotland, so that's bits of Moray through into Aberdeenshire, down to Aberdeen City and further south into Angus, and then we're into Dundee City and Perth and Kinross, some of Kinross area, Fife and Stirlingshire.
Okay, now we have Sue.
Hello there, yes, I'm Sue Wiley. And of our 87 regions, the one that I cover are in Ayrshire, the 3 Ayrshires, north, south and east, north and south Lanarkshire. I actually go across a little bit to Falkirk and to Clackmannanshire as well, and down into the south of Scotland to the Borders and Dumfries and Galloway. Thank you.
Okay, I'm Tamara, and I start in Inverclyde, Renfrewshire, Glasgow, then right up the west coast, including the Inner and Outer Hebrides, Thurso, Wick, Inverness, Moray, and Edinburgh and the Lothians. And we have our coordinator, Emma.
Oh, hello, I'm here this afternoon. Nice to see everybody. I coordinate the programme across the whole of Scotland and work really closely with the Enabler team.
So that's us and our organisation that hosts us, Green Space Scotland, based in Stirling. And the organisation works to ensure that everyone in Scotland has access to quality green space that they can use. Our tagline, transforming urban spaces to people places. So it's a lot of varied activities from assisting in community, placemaking, and then right up to policy level, various programmes supporting park managers. So quite a varied activities for a relatively small organisation. We all work part-time on the Tesco Community Grant Programme, which covers 87 award regions. Sue will cover that a bit later. Our role is to raise awareness of the grant programme, encourage organisations to apply and provide support to applicants and grantees during the application process or when they have received the funding. We work very closely with the Tesco Community Champions based in some of the Tesco stores, not all stores have them, and they help us connect with local groups. And you can find our details on the Green Space Scotland website. I think Rita's going to pop that in the chat box. Under the heading, if you go to the homepage, get involved, funding, and then there's ourselves there. And that's us. And I'll hand you over to Sue for the main presentation.
So those of you that haven't applied before might have experienced Tesco Community Grants as the blue token unit that you see if you go shopping in Tesco. In the old days, you used to be given a token and you could vote for 3 projects that were in there for 3 months at a time. Now I think you have to help yourself to it. But all those groups that are in the voting in the stores have got to do an online application, and that's what we're talking about at the moment. And since April of last year, I think based on, it's been going for 6 years under various guises. Some of you might have had a Tesco Bags of Help grant or a COVID emergency grant or a mental health grant that went on during the previous lockdowns. It was relaunched as Tesco Community Grants last April with a key focus on supporting projects that help children, young people and families, and also help food security or address food insecurity. And the reason we had one of these events at lunchtime today, which was just covering the whole thing. The detail was the same, but we've actually targeted this evening's event at those of you that are coming from food projects or might be interested in some sort of food application, because we really are encouraging these applications. It's astonishing in this world that we're living in when we hear so much about food poverty, but we're actually finding we're not getting in enough of the kind of food projects. The application process is exactly the same for everyone. So what we're telling you about process is the same, but we're really wanting to have a discussion and encourage food type applications to come in. Lovely. I think that's everything there. Right, a little bit of background. Just originally it was called Tesco Bags of Help because Tesco started the grant scheme when the government legislation required them to charge 5p for single-use plastic bags. And then when Tesco stopped using them and moved on to Bags for Life, they chose then to put some of that money towards the grant scheme. And now it has got nothing to do with bags at all. Tesco directly choose to fund their community work under the guise of Tesco community grants. And in the last 6 years, within Scotland, almost £13 million has gone to community groups like yours, bringing community benefit to more than 6,000 projects in Scotland, doing great work. Right. First of all, looking at children and young families, these are just what kind of projects have applied and have been successful and can. Pretty self-explanatory, anything that supports children, young people and families. We've had sports clubs, football clubs coming along, people wanting to do play parks, people organising festival events, volunteer or staff training or activities for people working with children and young people, forest schools, supporting kids that can't afford it to go away on camping trips, craft materials, tree planting, counselling, mental health for children and families, and intergenerational activity where older age groups maybe are working with children as well. And then specifically, again, food is either addressing food insecurity or supporting food security. The sorts of projects that have been successful are food banks, breakfast clubs, community food growing and cooking, or cafes that might come out of that, educating people about healthy food and budgeting skills, meal clubs for children or meal clubs for older people as well. A whole range of things, and even maybe in the sort of the climate change world that we're living in as well, encouraging sort of local food and local knowledge of what good food is. So if you've got any questions about that at the end, we can chat about that. But also one of the key things we want you to get from this is that Tamara, Rita and I, you know who we are, and if you have any questions later on, please get in touch with us and we'll chat over your projects with you. So who can apply? Basically not-for-profit organisations, like with many community grant schemes. Individuals and businesses cannot apply. Registered charities can apply, but you do not have to be a registered charity to apply. You can be just a constituted group with a bank account. It's an interesting one that public sector organisations can apply to Tesco community grants. So schools can apply, local authorities can apply, housing associations, health boards can apply, community councils, social enterprises, and there's various kind of structures you get, community development trusts or whatever, that sort of thing. So that's just to give you an idea. And when you do apply, you have to have your governance documents that you upload to show that you are a not-for-profit and that what you're applying for is within what you're allowed to do. And with the public organisations like schools or local authorities, it can be quite a quagmire to find out what is the government document there. But what you've got to do is provide proof that you're a school or a local authority. So that's normally uploading a letterhead that says we're a local authority school, because then that shows that you're a not-for-profit, you're not a private school or whatever. And this sometimes comes up with nurseries, because there can be local authority nurseries or private nurseries, and unfortunately private nurseries can't apply. Right, and how do you apply? I think Rita's maybe going to put that web link. You can actually Google Tesco Community Grants and you will come up to this. You should find this lovely, cheery website. And I think Rita might put the link in the chat, and we'll also share that with you afterwards. Once you get to the page, you click on apply for a grant there. And down at the bottom of the next page, you get a lot of information. And on this page, you will notice that there's a Tesco Community Grants logo, but there's also a Groundwork logo. So I would like to mention Groundwork here. They're an organisation that's based actually down in Birmingham, and they run the grant scheme for Tesco across England, Wales and Scotland. And when you have done your online application and you press submit, it actually goes down to Groundwork. So they're the ones that manage the money and do that kind of more official side of things. And we in Green Space Scotland, because Groundwork, they have their regional teams in England and Wales, but they don't have them in Scotland. So we're subcontracted to them to be the people that you get in touch with general questions and to tell you who to talk to. But with the official stuff, like sending you out the things that you've got to sign to accept a grant or whatever, it's Groundwork that your application goes down to, and it's Groundwork that does that more grant compliance stuff. So coming back to how do I apply, you're on this website, you click apply for a grant, there's a bit of information, and down at the bottom of the page, there are 3 steps that it's worth going through. You can download the guidance notes and frequently asked questions, and it's certainly worth doing that. Then step 2 is to find the postcode of your local store. As we said in the introduction, there are 87 sort of administrative regions for Tesco community grants, and you allocate yourself to a region by the postcode of your store. So every single store in Scotland has been allocated to a region. In rural areas, some regions only have 1 store. In urban areas, there might be 4 or 5 stores. You don't know that. That's a kind of background admin thing. But if you are an organization that has beneficiaries across quite a large area, you might want to get in touch with us and ask us, what shops are in the region in my area? I cover these certain towns, like say in Dumfries and Galloway that I cover. We've actually got different regions in Castle Douglas and in Kirkcudbright and in Stranraer, and you just have to ask us for that information. So that is what we want you to know, is please get in touch with us and please feel free to ask us that sort of question. And if you cover a large area, you are allowed to apply to the different regions. You're allowed to put in 2 or 3 applications that cover the region where you have beneficiary. So if you want more information on your particular circumstances, do get in touch with us. And then step 3 is the crucial one, where you're asked to do a wee eligibility checker. And then at the end, it asks you just a few things, which we'll kind of go over in the next slide. It then says, well done, you're eligible, apply now. And then you set up an online account, and your blank application form is in that online account. We can send you a list of the questions beforehand if you want, but you set up an account that you can go into, complete the application form a little bit, look at it, save it, log out, go back in again. And when you're finally happy with your application and you press submit, it goes down to Groundwork in Birmingham. So in terms of eligibility, we'll just go over the things. We've talked about the kind of groups that can apply, the kind of things you can apply for. Again, it's covered Scotland, England or Wales, that eligibility. Whatever you're asking for the funding for, it must be delivered within 12 months. I think I haven't mentioned that the maximum you can apply for is £1,500, the least is £500. Once you get the money, you have to spend it within 12 months. There's no restrictions on match funding, meaning that you don't get extra points for having a bigger project and having match funding. You can apply for 100% funding. If you pick out something that costs £1,500, you can apply for the full £1,500. And projects can apply for capital and revenue costs. You can apply for equipment. You can apply for, say, additional sessional workers for your summer play club, in which you're also giving kids after school snacks. And priority goes to projects that are supporting those 2 key themes that Tesco Community Grants is wanting to support: children, young people and families, and food insecurity. And there might be some of you that are listening now that are thinking, my project doesn't fit with those, but a member of staff from a local Tesco store came and suggested that I apply. There is also, Tesco really want their staff to be involved in this. And so Tesco staff can nominate a project, and If it is not fitting with children, young people and families or food insecurity, they can nominate that project and that gets recorded. They put in details about their store. You still have to apply like everyone else. You still have to be eligible like everyone else. But there is also that facility there. But every 3 months, Tesco wants at least one children and young families project and at least one food and security project in each store region in each voting round. Right, now just a few tips for your application. Let's see, I'll just move the, oh, sorry, just go back, previous, there we go. The one thing is just make sure that you mention exactly what you'll do with the money. I know most of us, when we're working with community groups, we put applications together, we like to share everything that we do, but the thing to do is think about, I'm applying for £1,500, what will I like to spend it on, and what difference will that make? And you can give a little bit of background as to the kind of people you work with, but concentrate on the difference that money will make. Be clear to describe how you'll support children, young people and families. If you do, be clear to describe how you'll address food security and sustainability. Do feel free to use your own words. They speak a lot stronger than any kind of jargon, and do say what difference the money will make. And here there's something, if you've not looked it up, it says the project title and one-line description, make sure they're relevant and fit. That lovely picture on the left of that wee boy posting his blue token, if you've ever looked at one of these in Tesco, you'll see that if you do get into the voting, what gets printed on there is the name of your organisation, your project title, which you write in your application form, and your one-line description. So you're really writing that one-line description for your Tesco shopper. The rest of the application you're writing for the groundwork grants assessor. But that one-line description, you're wanting people to kind of understand why they should vote for you and not one of the other two. Do apply for the full 1,500. This is what we recommend. When the 3 projects get into the voting unit, it's the customers who choose which comes first and gets £1,500 or what they applied for. So if you only put in for £1,000, even if you come first, you'll only get what you applied for. So we do recommend that. And I put at the bottom there, completion report. This is at the moment only relevant to those of you that put your hand up that you have applied before. You can technically make an application at any time, go through all this online process and submit it. But Groundwork will only look at a project and think about shortlisting it for the in-store voting once the completion report for any previous grants has been done. So basically, once you've completed your terms and conditions of the previous grant and shown that you've spent that. If it's on your online account, if you've had any difficulties finding it, get in touch with us again and we'll send you screenshots where to find it. So if you have applied before, you are allowed to apply again in the same region. Tesco have asked Groundwork, if there's an area that has lots and lots of applications and a group has had a few grants before, Tesco have asked Groundwork to try and spread the money fairly. So it might well be that in very busy areas that a second application might not get shortlisted. Before you spend the time on doing a second application to the same region, do feel free to get in touch with us and we can get some feedback on that or let you know, actually, there's no food applications in your area. I'm sure it's worth your while doing it again. Okay. And if you're successful and get shortlisted, you would then find yourself in the voting. 3 projects go into the voting across our 87 regions, and they are in the voting for 3 months at a time. So just a bit of the kind of scale of this, about a £250,000 every 3 months goes to 261 projects in Scotland alone. So there's a good chance of getting in there. And as I said before, first place receives up to £1,500. So it's £1,500 or what they applied for. Second place receives £1,000 or what they applied for, and third place receives 500. And I've put a wee 75% there beside the first place there, because If you get the full amount, you actually get 75% of your grant up front, and then you do the completion report and you get the rest. If you come second or third, you get the full amount up front. And I think it might be worth here saying just a little bit about the timelines. So if you've been in a Tesco shop this week and you see 3 projects, you'll notice that they are going to be in the store for 3 months. So they're going to be in January, February, March. So if you apply at the moment, the first time you could be in the in-store voting is April, May, or June. And that means that it takes towards the end of the following month for groundwork to gather the total tallies from all the stores across the UK, and then email out to everyone and say, congratulations, you came first or second. So the ones that are in the voting at the moment will hear that what they got in sort of April. And so if you were to apply now, and we're saying sort of by about mid-February to give time for shortlisting for the next round, which is April, May, or June, the money, if you're successful and are shortlisted, would be available to you at the end of July, beginning of August. So you need to be thinking about, what can I spend that money on from sort of August 22 to August 23. That's the way the kind of whole system works through. And here's our secret agents. I think we call them our community champions that are in the Tesco stores that we work with. In the larger stores, there are community champions. Some of you might know them already. They're the ones that manage the tokens. They're the ones that run the community boards. If you don't know them and you get into the in-store voting, do please introduce yourself to them. The way to find them is to go to customer services and just ask who the community champion is, and even leave them a wee note or some information about you. They are also involved on a kind of rolling basis, not in every region, but they're involved also in shortlisting projects. So at any one period, groundwork with the help of Tesco do some of the shortlisting of all the eligible applications of which ones go into the stores, but also Tesco like their staff to be involved in that, and we chair those sessions as well. So that they have quite a key role as well. And I think I'm coming to the end. I seem to have been doing quite a lot of chatting. This is our contact details. It's on the website, the geography. We've got a Twitter account, which is actually Green Space Scotland as a whole. If you're interested in green space things, we've got a Facebook page, which is just for Tesco community grants. And I think I will just reiterate, the key thing is, please do contact us if you're having problems with the technology. If you can't find the completion report on your online account, if you have any questions about whether you should apply or what region you're from, please do contact us.